Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is Brendan and Chris back again for another Neuway Media video. This is actually our first video that we've done together in camera at once, not including our podcasts. So we've got our brand new Komodo here. We're gonna go do some tests with it during Magic Hour at the park. We're really excited. So tell them a little bit about this new camera.
So right here we have the Red's latest addition to their cinema line, the Komodo 6K cinema camera. The frame rates, you'll get 60 frames at 4K, 120 frames at 2K, and only 40 frames at 6K. That's what kind of separates it from the bunch. But the big takeaway, the price point. This camera, once it's released, is going to be $6,000,
which sounds like it might be a lot, but really what you're paying for, what you're getting that other cameras that have similar specs don't have, is the RAW.
Same red quality, comparable to the Gemini and Helium sensor. The price gap between the two, you may be asking, that's going to be your slow motion capabilities in their more cinema lines. This is going to be a perfect drone camera, perfect gimbal camera, perfect crash cam, car cam, and
B-cam,
also
C-cam.
B-cam, C-cam, but rigged up the right way, it has all the power and punch to be a perfect A-cam as well. This is a native RF mount. What does that mean? That means you're not restricted to just using an EF mount, such as the Raven, which is their previous low price point entry Red. So that means you could adapt to PL, just take the RF, and there is an RF to PL adapter by many brands. Metabones makes one, Wooden Camera makes one. Today we're just running with the EF, but this just opens up a whole new line with anamorphic and cinema lens support. So that's gonna be, it just brings us up to be a better B-cam than the previous Reds in the past.
Yeah, so we're really excited to have this in our inventory now. Yeah, let's go do some tests. See you guys there.
Gotta get the mask.
Out in
take
public
this whole
now.
park down.
We're responsible out here.
Oh, I guess we should have brought sticks. That's all right.
No, it's okay. People will get an idea of how handheld looks.
Well, we gotta wait an hour to power it on in Red fashion.
How does the touchscreen feel? Is it like pretty responsive, or is it?
Very responsive. Just the problem is like it's a lot in one little space. So it's like
hard to press, like the buttons are small?
Yeah, like close buttons, like this is fine, the actual main screen, because you have your record button, you have white balance, shutter angle, you have your f-stop, your ISO, your frames per second. That's all, no problems there. You know, pretty responsive, as you can see. You could switch between them very fast. That is no problem. But then you get into like more of the particulars. So I have control of here, magnifying, LCD guides, LCD tools. You have focus, and then peaking, and like there, it's kind of like a little tougher to get in between, but that's all right. So I'm going to be recording this in 6K 241. You can do 17:9, you can do 16:9. I'm just going to do 2:4:1, and then you could control your project time base, which is what it plays back in, and then your recording frame rate, which is what you record in, so that matters. Make sure you're choosing the right one. 2398 for us, and then file format R3D, RAW, and then R3D quality, so you can control, this is your compression ratio right here. So it comes with HQ, MQ, and LQ if you have the updated firmware. HQ is kind of for visual effects, super low compression ratio stuff. MQ is for your standard shooting, and then LQ is for when you need that extra storage.
So just because it's sort of smaller and lighter weight, it's just harder to get a steadier shot?
Yeah, it's just the current rig right now. It's a little bit front heavy, this lens. We have the RF mount to this front weight. What would combat this is having the V-mount plate, just having a better balance rig. Right now, all our weight's to the front.
Right.
This, trying to be center, but it's still not fully ideal. Once it's built with the correct cage and rig, I'm sure it'll be balanced a little better. But
right, yeah. So you
and
put
I'm
a
also
cage on
getting
it.
used to this coming from DSMC2 for years. You know?
Yeah. Also, and you're shooting basically all telephoto right now too.
Yeah, that's not going to help me. I could do 48 frames at 6K, 2:4:1. I can do 48 frames, so we'll do that. 48's some slow-mo.
This is a good a day as any to start the rebuilding of life. The roads that lay open are many when the old one's gone under the knife. And I can feel the sun on my skin, beginning to thaw from within.
So we are about 75% down on one battery, and then we have a full other battery, and I have about 25 minutes of record time yet, and we've kind of switched over to slow motion. So that's like an estimate. Once we go back to 2398, that number will also go back up. But
This morning has a clear light as any to see the horizon in the far. Excuses were two for a penny, but they've all gone out the window of this car. And when I feel the wind on my face.
So if you go to 16:9,
so
you can only do
that's-
24?
Yeah, when I went from 2:4:1, I had 48 frames. I actually had 50 frames a second there. And then once I went back to 16:9, still 6K raw, I'm re-limited to 2398 and 3996. So basically 40 frames a second is as slow as I can go. So I'm kind of back in some standard speeds. So everything I've been shooting has been all at ISO 800. Now you can adjust your ISO in post, but you have to remember, even though it's raw, if you lose your highlights or lose your shadows, and by that you mean you underexpose or overexpose too much, you lose it even if it's raw. So you still have to make sure you're not clipping on either end. So I left everything at ISO 800, everything's at f4, and I have just been adjusting the variable ND as we go. So we'll see. There are some of these shots that are pushed in the highlight side when we're facing towards the sun, and the shadow side. I've left the ND on. We're still good. I've been monitoring my histograms. It's great to have the access to monitor that. So here I get all my project data, and if I just tap that, I have a histogram, and as you can see, as I adjust the ND, it moves all around. And then here I got my stoplight. So even though it's a different looking menu, it still follows the same red menu system a bit for you to like still be able to monitor all the things you need to monitor. Since this camera isn't officially released or announced technically from Red, all the specs are also not announced. This is still in beta form, and it is subject to change with firmware. The hardware, you're going to get something that looks almost exactly like this. But so we don't actually know the latitude of the camera. What we do know is that it's 16-bit RAW. What's 16-bit RAW? Well, it's amazing if you ask me. Most cameras don't get much higher than 10-bit. So the fact that we're at 16-bit, we're still keeping that red quality, and that still is almost guaranteeing us more latitude regardless. How much? Reds in the past have been about 16 plus stops of dynamic range. I don't see this one shying any shorter, and if it did, I can't see it going any lower than 14 stops of dynamic range. Is that 14 stops of effective? That depends. HDR, yada yada, all capable in this camera. That's what I have this camera early for, is to test that out, and Red will eventually give us those answers. But that's just good gee-whiz knowledge to know that you do not have to worry that you're going to be too limited with this thing. I'm telling you, this is one of the best RAW workflows that you can work with.
Okay, so we just finished up filming. We just lost light. Final thoughts for the day?
This was our first time actually shooting with the Komodo. Our next video, we're going to be doing low light tests. We'll take a hike around Hollywood and just really push this camera to the limits and see how it compares against other cameras like Gemini and whatnot. So yeah, all in all, I've been pretty happy. It was a bit of a run and gun sesh because we were chasing light, but hopefully the images look good. Viewing it on here on the small HD
looks incredible.
Yeah, it gave me the same red image that I'm used to, if not looked a little bit better. Maybe that's the IPP2, we'll see, but I'm excited to see how it turns out.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. All right, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and thank you guys for watching. Catch you later.